Jemisin has artistic and political ambitions for her work, and she is fundamentally, full-throatedly a commercial writer. Page by page, she's structuring this very much in line with the commercial demands of her day. And I'm not saying that because she has no literary ambitions. I'm saying she is working inside her characters don't work inside the system, generally speaking, but in her literary way, Jemison does. There is a there is basically a mystery plot. This is not a mystery structure per se, but it works the same way. It's about scene by scene of real confrontation and discovery, continuing to uncover key plot information step by step. If you go back and reread the first chapter of a Le Guin novel, you're going to see things that you missed the first time. Absolutely. And you're going to see them kind of in the sentence structure. You're also going to see things you missed in the opening of a Jemisin novel. Go back at the end of the novel and look at the first couple chapters again, and you're going to miss plot things. She is working both as a mystery writer, but I will also argue she is informed by her background as a counselor and a psychotherapist. So one of the rules in the mystery writer, the suspense writer, is like, I showed you the clue, you just didn't see it. In the profusion of exposition, we open, as so often in a fantasy novel, with a character who is from some pretty marginal place in the world. There's a whole subgenre called portal fantasy where they come from our world into a different world. But generally speaking, our hero begins and comes from some relatively quiet place far from the center and moves into the center where things get more complicated and action packed. You're in the quiet little shire, you're on the island of Gaunt. Next unit, we'll meet somebody who starts the novel in like internal exile, in who has been rusticated, sent off to the country to rot. Yane is grown up in her and on the peripheries of the empire. Besides from that normal trope, Jemison is very interested in the relation between the peripheries of the empire and the center, and she is very suspicious of all empires. And as Yane is trying to get her head around one of the reasons technically to have your hero, your protagonist, come from a marginist, so they have to figure things out too and bring the reader along with them. Roke Island looks different if you expect everything than it does if you're there with Ged for the first time when he's a kid. In that, those first two chapters, Jemison has thrown right in front of your eyes key plot points that she will revisit later that are much, much more important than you think they are right now. I will spoil two of them for you and leave at least a third unspoken. We find on chapter one, second paragraph, we hear the story that Yane tells us, or the story of Yane's birth is the story of her mother trying to forcibly keep her in the womb. And then we move forward the story. I would like to stop and say, that's weird. When your mother's literally trying not to give birth to you against every possible imperative of the human body, then something's up. We've moved past that. This is good mystery and suspense writing. It is also part of Jemison's psychological acuity. Jemison, who spent years as a therapist, knows very well how people kind of skip past the traumatic parts of their lives. They leave it unexplored. They leave that door unopened. When it's ajar, they just don't look in there. Part of doing talk therapy is hearing patients try to walk by the thing that really is the thing you maybe have to talk about much more. This character His mother tried to prevent her from being born during labor. That's crazy. As they say in therapy, tell me more about that. Oh, are there reasons? You're then invited, you're crowded then by other bits of exposition takes you away from that. But that is a wild thing. And Yane doesn't seem to ask the significance of that. She should. And so should you. Early in the second chapter, while describing the capital city, Sky, she talks about it as a relative newcomer, a mere adolescent. It's only 500 years old. Why is the capital of the empire only 500 years old when the empire is actually much older than that? The empire is thousands of years old. Its capital city is only 500 years old. Why would that happen? Second paragraph of the second page. Sky, the city is only 500 years old, built when some disaster befell the previous Aramari seat. Some disaster befell the previous capital? What disaster? what? 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 A disaster destroyed the entire previous capital? And we are not going to talk about that. We should. There is yet a third massive invitation to ask more questions later in the second chapter, but not that much later. I'm going to leave that one to you. These points will be revisited later. They're reveals. They're fair reveals because this this was brought up and you didn't ask, right? Oh, you're gonna find out. this is a this is how our modern understanding of of the talk therapy works. It's not that people so much lack access to the memories that traumatize them. It's that they try to keep them out of the story. They take them down, like, well, yeah, okay, and of course the previous cap was destroyed a long time ago. Was it? Was it? Jemisin's novels are always about unacknowledged trauma that can't be held down anymore. The mystery structure, the structure of kind of r- endless secrets being revealed, is ideal for that, for that, for that psychological structure.